I call this meeting of the Siloam Springs Planning Commission to order. Roll call, please.
Song,
Here.
Montgomery. Here. Sally.
Here.
McKinney.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Bernard. Williams.
Here.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. You've all received minutes of the meeting of May the 10th, 2022. Are there any corrections? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. Minutes are approved. First item on tonight's general agenda is a final plat development permit PP 2205. Mr. Rhodes, you're on stage.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commission. Ben Rhodes, Senior Planner. So before you is a final plat development permit. This is split a 29.62 acre property into 4 new lots. This is the former location, the Franklin Electric property. And this is coming before you for consideration because it's a unique plat that doesn't have a preliminary plat or anything associated with it. So it's going straight to a final plat. So here we have the site plan. So the lots, I'll point them out. There'll be the first lot, lot 1 is right at the corner here, at the corner of Carl and Highway 412. Then we have the second lot, lot 2, which is the other corner, Highway 412 and Elm Street. And then the last lot is down at the very bottom here, that has the property that's right along Quarter Road, I believe. So the other thing to keep in mind with this, and I'm going to touch on this a little bit later, but the this gray area on here is the parking lot. And so with the lot line being created here, they're going to be required to provide green space buffer on either side of the lot, as well as access to this remnant parking lot that's going to be split off once this is approved. But I'll talk about that a little bit later in the conditions. So here you see the site view looking to the north of the property. So staff is recommending approval with 3 needed conditions. The first is standard regarding the filing of the survey that's within the 45-day time limit. Second is related to the access of that parking lot I was mentioning earlier. That's on the northeast corner of lot 3. So that is being cut off by the proposed lot 2. So what the applicant needs to do is file either a separate access easement to that parking lot or dismantle and completely remove that parking lot. So they have either of those options, and they would need to do that before we allow any construction on the lot here, which is lot 2. And then the final condition, as I was mentioning earlier, is related to that green space buffer that's required within the parking lot. So as just a reminder, the lot kind of goes roughly around like that. So the lot line is being proposed in the parking lot. So when you're doing that, you need to have that area on either side of that opened out for green space. So what we've said is to go ahead and before building permit issuance on that lot, they would have to have that removed, which would work out because typically they would do the grading and site prep before you actually issue the building permit. So then they would take care of that at that time. And so that concludes the conditions that staff is suggesting, and we're available for any of your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address this issue? Please come forward, state your name and address. Seeing no one from the audience, commissioners? Do you have any questions of Mr. Rhodes?
So lot one will essentially be a shared drive, right? With that, there's not gonna be any new 412 access.
Right, there was a plat note to that we would require drive access to lot one only off of Carl. Yeah, there wouldn't be another driveway off of 412. Does that make sense?
Isn't the driveway in the middle of lot one or on lot one? Oh, that's lot two.
This is
I'm
lot
sorry.
one on the corner
I
up
said
here.
Lot two, yeah.
Lot
I
two
said
is
lot one, I
down-
meant lot two.
Okay, yeah, lot two will have a new driveway put in when it gets developed. So right now, the access to that area is through lot 3, I believe, which is the middle lot here. And then this is 4. So that's not really a problem because they already have street access. They just need to put in a new driveway whenever they propose a development there.
Thank you.
Ben, doesn't Lot 2 have access off of 412?
It does as well, yeah. Yeah, there's actually a driveway, if you look really closely right there. Yeah,
Way there, and there's one off of the side street.
yeah,
In Lot 3, they have a driveway off of.
yeah.
Home? Yeah, Lot 3 has entrance off of Elm.
Yeah, no lot is being cut off because of the proposal. Only that parking lot that I mentioned, so,
Lot 4, do we have any idea what?
no. They haven't come to a proposal or anything like that.
Have any other questions or concerns about this final plat development? Well, hearing none, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'd move approval with staff stated conditions.
I have approval of final plat development PP 2205 with the staff recommended conditions. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Montgomery,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes.
Kenny,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Bernard,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Song.
Yes.
Motion is approved. This will go before the Board of Directors on July the 5th. Next item on the agenda is Significant Development Permit SD 22-05. Mr. Rhodes.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman and Commission. So we're moving over to significant development permits. This is going to be for the Siloam Springs School District at 3000 block Cheri Whitlock Drive. And their request is to construct a 20,400, roughly it says 399, but about 400 square feet administrative office building. And here you see the site plan. What I've done here is this is the same plan. It's just on the right. We've blown it up a little bit because it's kind of hard to see the details when you see the full site on the left. But on the left is the full site. There's an existing pond down here. This is where wisteria comes in, and then their detention will be basically to the south side of the building. This is the site just as blown up a little bit more. Some other details. This is intentionally cut off like that for the driveway because there is a potential for the future for this driveway to be extended down like this. That would be outside of the parking aisle for the facility. That would be used to potentially connect to a street extension of wisteria, and then also for access to the lot to the west there if it ever gets developed. So they're just kind of planning for the future, and that's why it's like that. As I said, the detentions down to the south there, we got a dumpster corral on the southeast side of the facility, and then of course parking all the way around, sufficient for the office areas within the facility. This is the landscaping. So we shifted the view over, so north is actually now going this direction rather than up. So the Cheri Whitlock is on the left here. And we got trees around the entire facility. Then we got trees back on the back end of the detention pond. And they are providing sufficient trees for the entire site. They just pushed some of these up closer to be to the developed area, which is allowed by code to do that. Here is the this facility, what it will look like as far as the elevations. Main entrance is west facing, and then you have the street facing along Cheri Whitlock at the bottom there, which is the north front. And then here we have the property as it would appear once developed, overlaid onto an aerial view. Just keep in mind this aerial is a little bit outdated, so there's not quite as many trees on the southern area there, but there are still a few trees, which you'll see in a second. And then here is the site, so that the development will happen, basically on the north side of that property. We are recommending approval with 2 conditions. There's a paving issue that needs to be resolved around the vicinity of the dumpster turnaround area, and there also needs to be bollards added to protect a fire hydrant, which was a late comment. So these revisions will be shown on the construction plan set, which is required prior to building permit issuance. And then the second is the need for a separate utility easement, which will be filed by separate instrument, needed prior to certificate of occupancy. And with that, we're available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Is there anyone from the audience that would like to address this issue? Thank you. Commissioners? Well, we're a quiet group tonight. Okay, with no comments from the commissioners, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the significant development permit SD 22-05.
Thank you. I have a motion to approve with recommend.
With stated conditions. Thank you.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve significant development permit SD 2205. Roll call, please.
McKinney,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Bernard,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Song,
Yes.
Montgomery,
Yes.
Sally.
Yes.
Motion is approved. This will go to the Board of Directors on July the 5th, 2022. Next item on our agenda is significant development permit SD 22-06. Mr. Rhodes.
Yes, thank you again, Mr. Chairman and Commission. So we're not very far away from the last project, literally almost right across the street. We're now on North Progress Avenue. It's 1300 block North Progress. And this is another significant development to construct a 11,578 square foot medical eye care office building. And here we see the facility. This is Wisteria Lane again, but again, we're on the other side of the street. So this is going a little bit to the east. And then we've got Progress Avenue on the left there, with 2 entrances getting into the facility, one off of Progress and the other one off of Wisteria Street. And then we have the detention basin on the east side of the property, parking all the way around the facility with double-sided parking along the west side, which is presumed to be the main entrance of the facility. Here is the landscaping plan. They're providing sufficient trees for this type of project. And then we have some elevations. With this is the west front on the top there. And then we got the other sides as they go around the building. And then here is the site as it appears over the existing aerial. They are providing sidewalks, of course, around the perimeter of the project as required. And then the site view of the property. So there's one condition regarding the exterior lighting. That was some question as to whether this type of facility would require lighting or not. And so the rule is that if on the shortest day of the year, if it's dark outside and you're going to be using the facility, you're required to have lighting. So they need to determine whether that's going to happen or not. And so we'll resolve that with the construction plan set prior to building permit issuance. And that's the only condition, and we're available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Is there anyone from the audience that would like to address this significant development? Okay, Commissioners, your turn.
The only question I have, Ben, I guess it's more curious, when we're relying upon whoever the developer is to provide us with the photometric plan, or just if they would need it or not, is it more just it almost sounds like it's subject to just whatever they tell us. I mean, what's the teeth in that? I mean,
Well, I mean, they're required to provide that plan if they're going to be doing lighting, and we do check that to make sure that first of all that it's reasonably presented, that that where they're showing lights they have the measurements of the photometrics on there. But the main thing I'm looking at is to make sure that they're not exceeding the light trespass or spillage onto other properties, because we have a specific code requirement that we don't have light trespass beyond the property line.
I guess my question is more, if they're just saying they're not going to be there past 5 on December 21st, and we're not going to be driving by and saying, well, you had somebody there at 5:30. I mean, so
Well, I mean,
why didn't they say they're not? It's just kind of on their
yeah,
word.
I mean, that goes with a lot of different things. I mean, you can require a fence and then they build it, and then a month later they take the fence down after the project's already been finished. So, I mean, a lot of that goes in with code enforcement and things like that.
Okay.
Once you get past the project being finished.
Right.
So, yeah.
So code enforcement could be.
If there was a complaint, yeah.
Thank you.
Lot go all the way to Cheri Whitlock?
No, it's just the front.
There in Cheri Whitlock.
Yeah, this is the front part of the property like that.
Other questions, Commissioners? Well, good. I'll entertain a motion.
Chairman, I move to approve significant development 2206 with staff recommendations.
I have a motion to approve SD 2206 with staff recommendations. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Smith,
Yes.
Bernard,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Song,
Yes.
Montgomery,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes.
McKinney.
Yes.
Motion is approved. This will go before the Board of Directors on July the 5th. Next item on the agenda is Special Use Development Permit SU 2205, Ben Rhodes.
Yes, thank you again. So we're moving from significant developments to special use permits. This one's at 601 North Elm Street. This is about a block south of Northside School, where Elm ties in with Elgin Street. And this is like many of the other ones you've reviewed, just to allow a single-family residence to be used as short-term rental. This is the letter that was provided. I just want to, you probably have already read through this, but just to highlight the last one there, that they're not going to do any loud parties or anything after 10 p.m. Keeping noise at a minimum, not disrupt neighbors or do anything that would cause littering or things of that nature. So that they've already specifically included that within their rules for this facility for renting this home out. And then here is the property. It's a fairly small property, so we don't believe there'd be very many cars using this, because you're not going to be able to have more than one family really in there at one time. And so with that, we are recommending approval without any conditions required. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Is there anyone from the audience that would like to address this special use permit? Thank you. Commissioners?
Ben, is this picture of this house, is that the same owner that has it now that's just been renting it long term? I mean, because it looks like there's a washer setting outside and it just doesn't look like a Airbnb type rental that I would expect.
They might have had a renter in there, but their intent is to switch it to Airbnb or VRBO rental, short term, yes.
Ben, I have a question. In the sense that they say we promise the house rules will be such, the only way if someone is there that they didn't know would break the house rules, but say there is a loud party because I rented it, right? So would that be someone had to call and report? I mean, what would you do in a case like that if they don't abide by the house rules?
Yeah, as I stated in the staff report, it would be no different than anyone a permanent resident that's causing the same problems, having loud parties or trash. You can call code enforcement, you can call the PD, and they take care of those situations. So I don't think these are in a different category just because they happen to be a short-term rental.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Thank you.
Good questions. Any other comments? Okay, with that, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve special use development permit 2205.
I have a motion to approve SU 2205. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve SU 2205. Roll call, please.
Bernard,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Song,
Yes.
Montgomery,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes.
McKinney,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes. This is approved and will go to the Board of Directors on July the 5th. Next item is Special Use Development Permit, SU 2206. Mr. Rhodes.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This was the late submittal. As you remember from the packet, I had, this was not included originally, but then we did include it. So that they were able to resolve that issue with the legal notification, so we were able to move forward with the permit. But we're at 509 East Helena Street, again, another short-term rental. This is right where Helena and Hill have the T intersection right there before you make the turn, go up Britt Street, if you're familiar with the area. The letter provided by the applicant is just basically just saying they're just wishing to use the home as a short-term rental, Airbnb, VRBO, bookings.com. They closed on the property back in March, which they hope to book guests on daily or weekly basis. They just kind of go into basics about the property and how it will be used. Here is the property itself. Regarding the parking, and I know you did receive a letter referencing that as well. That was a late letter. I think we got it yesterday. Anyway, there is sufficient parking for the facility when you factor in where the white sedan is parked versus the actual driveway, which belongs to the residents as well on the left side of the house. So the code requires 2 spaces per residence, and that would apply for the short-term rental. So we do think that there's sufficient parking there, with that, we don't have any other conditions or comments on that, and we're available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Is there anyone from the audience that would like to address this special use permit? Thank you. Commissioners?
Ben, the special use permit for the short-term rentals, those have a limit on how long someone can stay, right? The only
Yes.
thing that concerns me is the will consider longer stays. Is that seems very open-ended.
Right. I mean, it would have to be an enforcement matter. I mean, it's they're getting permission to allow for short-term rentals. So where you have multiple people that come in, on a monthly basis based off of their bookings. There's nothing to prevent them from just turning it into a rental. You don't have to have a special permit for that. So if they want to make this into a traditional rent house where someone just lives there for 6 months, they can do that today without getting permission from the planning commission. So
Go back and forth between the two?
I don't know if they would do that, but I mean, they theoretically that could be a possibility. This is not to prevent them from doing the other allowed uses within the R2 zone, if you follow what I'm saying. So if they wanted to abandon the idea of the short-term rental and just sell the property and have someone live there, they can do that without getting special permission to do that.
Okay.
That makes
Wasn't there
sense.
something in the short-term rental about a maximum amount of time?
It's I believe the code has it less than 30 days, but I can pull that out.
Term rental.
Okay, I misspoke. It's 15-day maximum. So bed and breakfast, use unit 10.1, one hotel, motel per lot, having no more than 6 rooms for rent, all rented on a short-term, 15-day maximum basis, and generate no impacts other than what is standard under use unit 3 or 4, which is the single-family, 2-family use units. So that's what they would have to follow under the code as far as the special use permit.
Okay.
Which
But
which you're
would
voting on.
consider longer stays with that written, just, they seem to kind of go against each other.
And am I correct that if you rented it to a person for 15 days, and that person wanted to rent it another 15 days, that would be fine? Nobody's checking the ledger to see who moves in and out. Sometimes families need short-term rentals while they're having a house built or something, and that would be how you'd get around that, if you will, is the same person could rent it again, right?
Right. I mean, again, there's no rules about rentals. You can rent it for 30 days without having to get a special use permit. All right. This is to allow for the short-term rentals. So if you're going to be doing a rental every 2 days or every 7 days and you get new people coming in, that's where you would have to get the special use permit. But if someone wanted to be in there longer, they can do that by right. They don't have any permission required to do a 20-day rental.
Right, I get that. It
Yeah.
just seems written weird in the code for.
Yeah, it's again, this is just when there are rentals happening on a less than 15-day basis, then they have to get a special use permit. That's what if you can think about that way.
Dan, out of curiosity, how large was that property? How many bedroom?
Well, their letter, I believe it said it was it's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath at 1512 square feet.
It's still single family.
It is a single family home, yes.
Why would they need more than one driveway?
I have no idea. That just how the lot got developed. I would have to do more research to determine that question.
Thank you. Is there any other comments from commissioners?
But to Mr. Smith's question, the letter that he wrote, we can't tell people not to park in their front yard, can we? I mean.
We do not have a parking on the grass
Yeah,
ordinance.
Yeah,
No.
so, okay, just to be clear there.
No.
Any other questions? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve special use development permit SU 2206.
I have a motion to approve special use development permit SU 2206. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Williams,
Yes.
Song,
Yes.
Montgomery,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes.
Kenny,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Renard.
Yes.
Motion is approved. This will go to the board on July the 5th. Next item on our agenda is rezoning development permit RZ 22-05.
Yes.
Ben Rose.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commission. So I'm going to be presenting both next two items on the agenda together because it's the same property. So we're going to get the whole presentation for both, and then you can do the two separate votes for the rezoning and also the special use development permit. So we're at the 500 block of North Progress Avenue. This is just south of Tahlequah Street, but north of Walmart, on the east side of Progress. And what they're requesting is to rezone from A1 agricultural to PD planned development for a planned community, and also to acquire a special use permit for large institutional use. And that special use permit's needed because it's not an allowed use within the requested PD zone. It's not allowed use at all in agricultural, but you can do a special use if they get the PD zoning that goes along with that. So this is rather elaborate, so I'll go through and sort of explain what they're trying to do in the different areas as best as I can. So they're breaking it out into 4 kind of sub-zones or sub-areas. So we have the area A, which is in the blue shading there. That's about 10 acres, and that will be for quasi-assisted living facilities, not actually an assisted living facility, but it will function similar to that, sort of a dormitory format with a common dining area for seniors and that type of thing. Then area 2 will be a townhouse styled development. And I emphasize the word styled because it will function like multifamily. They're all going to be owned by one person. So they're rentals, but they will resemble a townhome with ground level entry for each unit. And they will have 2 stories, and they will all be touching together. So that will be what will come in, what you will get into the assisted living facility. You'll go through the townhome section. Then C is somewhat detached from A and B, and that is a single-family home development, but what I would call a new urbanist style, which is not a term we've used very often in Siloam Springs for these types of developments, but neo-urbanist or what we call traditional neighborhood development is a type of development where it's more traditional to what you saw in this country maybe about 100 years ago or so, with the garages that were stacked behind those units rather than in front, with accessible through alleyways. And then each house would have a front porch, but the homes would be closer to the street. So smaller, more shallow front yards, more street-oriented units that are on smaller lots, but then, with the back garage, with maybe 1 or 2 car garage on the back of each unit. And then D, which is broken out into 2 areas. So that red shading is actually both the same standards, but they're just in different locations. And that's our mixed use, which will be multifamily, but also with commercial mixed in there. Maybe like a coffee shop or a small gym or a little corner store of some kind, convenience store, that kind of thing like that. That would be mixed in there with potentially some multifamily, but on a smaller scale basis because of the size of lots. And this is only being 2 acres and the other one's 3.5 acres. So that's their vision for the property. And so as you know, you may remember with the PD zone, it's special. It's a different type of zone compared to all the other ones. What they're allowed to do is they can customize their actual standards. So if you want to zone to like R4 or C2 or whatever, you're stuck with whatever the zone standards are that are written in the code. Well, PD has its own standards as well, but they can customize those. They can say, well, we don't want to go with the PD suggested setback. We're going to go with one that we think will fit with our development. And so what's nice about it is that it's not a global change. You're just changing this specifically just to this site. So it's highly context sensitive to only this property that will have these standards and not anywhere else in the code. And so what you're seeing here is on each area, they have their own proposed standards. So in the left-hand column is what was required with the PD that comes kind of automatically when you zone the PD. And then the right-hand side is the proposed standard. So for instance, the front setback normally is only 30 feet, but they're actually proposing 100 feet for this blue area. And reason for that is they're trying to customize it so the building fits really within the areas of the site that they want to build on. Particularly with all this heavy foliage in there and some drainage areas and things that they want to stay out of. So they are putting a higher setback on there, basically kind of creating their own rules and then hoping they stick to their own rules as they rezone it. So yeah, I won't go through all these because we'll be here a while if I read through all that. But hopefully you saw that all in the staff report and that made sense to you. You know what they're trying to do. The next one here, again, is for B. This is the townhome section. Again, it's probably falling more closely to more what you would see in the R4 zone, where with the setbacks and such just set up to be consistent with that. Again, there aren't really a lot of major departures in there, but it's fairly close. I will point out the coverage is a little bit higher. There's 40, and they're going up to 70. But rest of that's more or less kind of the same. Then with the single family, this is probably where you would see some of the most profound departures from what we would call the R2 zone. Mainly because they're trying to achieve this new urbanist vision, and so our zoning just doesn't really fit with that. We have more post-war Euclidean zoning. That's more the traditional suburban style development that you see around. So it doesn't really fit in with that. So, for instance, they're rather than a 60-foot lot width, they're going 35 foot. They are keeping with the 40% lot coverage. And then the setbacks, a 10-foot front setback. Again, that's just to acquire or get the sense of the buildings being closer to the street, which would create a little bit more of a sense of place as you walk through there. Buildings aren't so far out on the edges. They're right along the street as you walk down there. Hopefully a very pleasant place to be. And then the last is Area D. With the mixed use, and then we have again, the standards more or less the same. We do have a higher lot coverage, and then the rest of these are pretty much going to be the same, a little bit higher height limit as well. So I want to also emphasize this as a concept plan, and the reason being is that they're not held, by approving what you're going to approve today, they're not held to this exact design. This is just a concept. So when they come back with the preliminary plat or the significant development permit, the orientation of the streets or things like that might be a little bit different than what you're seeing here. But this is just to give you a general idea of the different zones and what you're going to get out of that. Here's, again, that assisted living facility, the townhomes as you come in, the single family, and you notice they do have the alleys all going back behind each one of the units. And then we have the mixed use here, and then another mixed use there with parking separated off of Tahlequah Street. And then again, just a reminder that they're getting the special use permit for use unit 14, which is a large institution, which is special use only in the PD zone. And future land use map, because they are doing a rezoning, I'm required to show this to you. This is the 2030 map, so this might be one of the last times you actually see me using the 2030 map, because we're just about to get another map, so that will be the next planning commission for you guys. We'll look at that. But what they're showing here on our current map is generally commercial along there, but we do have some mixed use. That's the brown shading. So I think generally it is fitting within that. They do have a little bit more residential in there than what was suggested, but I think it's especially with the mixed use already being considered in there, that was, I think going to fit. I already had a question on this earlier. What's the green and black line? Those were trails, envision trail network that would connect through there at some point. And then, of course, the site view. We got Walmart literally behind us in this view. We got the hospital there, the high school on to the left. It's a very heavily wooded property. They're hoping to keep most of the trees as they do the development, so they can keep that aesthetic in place. There is one condition needed, and that's on the rezoning. So when rezone, that we have to allow for the I misspoke. It's for the special use permit has to have a condition that the property be rezoned in order to approve the special use permit. So that's the one condition. And with that, we are available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Is there anyone from the audience who'd like to address this special use? Wow, looks like our audience is gone. Commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, this is probably a Justin question. The water issues in that area, what are the potentials for handling? I mean, because we've got like a bridge there that has water running under it. It seems like water actually runs through the property, not just like a retainage type situation. How are those potentially handled?
Well, I think the answer is it's a little too early to know for sure, but that will come later on. Well aware of the water that goes through there. The detailed floodplain ends downstream of there, but we think that with future studies in the future that would be extended upstream. So we're going to require some type of a floodplain study as part of this, just to make sure they're not encroaching on it. So none of this is actually set as far as that layout set in stone is really conceptual. So that'll be, I guess you could say it will be determined later on with the actual significant development plan. Excuse me?
Becomes Jason's problem.
Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah.
Ben or Jason? Ben, I guess. As we're looking at that picture that is up there, the subject property actually begins at the edge of that. Is that the detention pond for the super center in the foreground of that picture?
Yes, right there. I believe that is the detention for the Walmart super center. Yeah.
So that property starts from there northward.
Right. It is all this. It goes all the way up to the edge and kind of comes back. My drawing's not exact. There's a little notch out there, but roughly like around that area.
Draw a straighter line than I can. Okay, commissioners, got any other questions?
I know this is conceptual at this point, and there's still a lot to be done, but do we have any other subdivision, single family, this dense?
Well, we have looked at the Foxtail Village. As you recall, that's the other PUD that was along Highway 16 that had, I believe, 6,000 square foot lots, and then a narrower. I don't recall the exact lot width requirement, but it was under 60 feet, probably 50-foot wide lots. But we don't have quite an equivalent of something like this in Siloam Springs. That's what I was saying earlier, like this is kind of unique for our community. Unless you would consider maybe some of the older parts of town that have the homes that are a lot closer together, and maybe they do have a rear alleyway or something like that. Basically the neighborhoods around the downtown area here. So they typically are on lot smaller lots as well. So.
Thank you.
So just to be clear, the only part of this that's 55 plus is the institutional part, right? They're not saying this whole development is
The townhomes are as well, I think.
the
Yeah,
town.
to townhomes, and then the assisted living is going to be more, you know, potentially older people as well. So, but then the single family are open to anyone. Yeah, if I remember, that's what we. Is that correct? Okay, I got the nod. So yeah.
Anyone else? No? Okay, with that being said, I'll entertain a motion to approve SU 22-07 Special Use Development Permit.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve rezoning development permit RZ 22-05.
Okay, thank you. I have a motion to approve RZ 2205. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve rezoning development permit RZ 2205. Roll call, please.
Song,
Yes.
Montgomery,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes.
Kenny,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Bernard,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Motion is approved. This will go to the Board of Directors on July the 5th. And the next item on the agenda was briefed in with this, and this is a special use development permit of SU 2205. Any comments on that? Any questions on that? Hearing no questions, anyone from the audience? I apologize to the audience that wants to address this. That being said, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve special use development permit SU 22-07.
I have a motion to approve SU 2207. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve special use development permit SU 2207. Roll call, please.
Montgomery,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes.
McKinney,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Bernard,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Song.
Yes.
Motion is approved. This will go to the Board of Directors on July the 5th, 2022. You all got copies of the comprehensive monthly plan update, and you have the agenda of board approved permits. Are there any questions on either of those two items? With all those questions, I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
I have a motion to adjourn by Song. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.